Welcome to the Rabia and Sana show. We're two Desi girls reinventing cultural norms with love to make difficult conversations easier to help you take courageous steps faster.
Whether you feel like a misfit now or have been breaking the standards, this podcast is for you, for the adults, the young. Come as you be and become your authentic self as you desire. Let's go reinvent some cultural norms together.
Hello everyone, I am Rabia Paracha. I have been a rebel without a cause for most of my life until I discovered my purpose to empower women to empower themselves. And that led me down a rabbit hole to become a life coach from CTI Coactive Coaching. And today I'm a mind and life power coach who helps people break free of their limiting cultural beliefs to find the life they love and the love of their life.
Hello everyone, I am Sana. I am from New Jersey, a Pakistani American. Professionally, I work in the clinical research field. And personally, I have always had this purpose of empowering women of South Asian culture to be able to live the life that they want to live and be true to themselves instead of what the culture expects them to be. And so here I am pursuing that purpose, and I am also studying to become a life coach. Let's get started.
Hello, amazing souls. Welcome to another episode of the Rabia and Sana show, where we are reinventing cultural norms to elevate your mental, emotional, and financial well-being. I'm Rabia Paracha.
And I'm Sana Shah. In this episode, we are diving deep into the art of financial freedom with our guest, Fauzi Zamir, who is the founder and CEO of a fintech platform called Moolahmate. Today, Fauzi will reveal the secrets to saving more, spending less, and kissing your financial stress goodbye. Welcome, Fauzi. It's so great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here, delighted to be joining, and hopefully being of some help to some people out there.
Thank you. Before we get started, Fauzi, could you please share a little bit about yourself?
I'm Pakistani. I was born in Karachi, and my dad was in the government service, so we lived all over the place, like Islamabad, Lahore, Karachi, and London, etc. I graduated from Government College Lahore and came to Canada 700 years ago in 1975. And I had a job with Pricewaterhouse, which is one of the largest accounting firms in the world. And I got my CA. And after that, I've had a very eclectic, kind of strange, kind of unique, and very blessed to have had a good career. Right from the start, I was effectively CFO of a restaurant and pub chain. And then I worked for a trust company, and I became the chief financial officer of a trust company. I was responsible for the wind down of another trust company. And then back in early 2000, we introduced the first online term lending platform. So you could walk into a Yamaha dealership and apply for a lease and get approved and have your documents and sent out. And this is before the internet was a thing. So that was that. So I've been in sort of entrepreneurial environments and things like that. And my last job was as CFO and chief operating officer of a software company, which we sold to a US public company. And after that, I was barely off for 4 days. And I thought that I should do this Moolahmate thing, because I've been in financial reporting most of my life. And in most of those places, I ended up sort of revamping the reporting systems for those companies to help management make better decisions. And I thought, why not do that for people? Because I understand reporting, I understand finance and money, I guess. And that's how Moolahmate came about. So I went about, I gathered a team, and we developed my idea, which I designed in Excel. And then we introduced it in November. So here we are. So it's early days, but it's going quite well. Received some good reviews. I had one Money Sense magazine that rated it as the best overall financial app. So that was very heartening. And the traffic to the site is increasing. And I hope people try it out, because hopefully, as you quite aptly put it, that will then ultimately help them save more, spend less, and reduce financial stress. It's at least one stress that we can try and reduce.
Right. Well, first of all, Hello, you're a friend as well. So I'm so happy to have you here. And I'm so happy to hear about the success that Moolahmate is having right now. I know Fauzi is very passionate about helping people as well and also bringing his best forward. I'm really excited about what's yet to come. And I'm super delighted to hear that Money Sense gave you such amazing reviews. I'm sure Moolahmate is going to help millions and millions of people. So, speaking of saving money, what are the secrets that you can share with us today and how Moolahmate can help our listeners who may be living paycheck to paycheck post pandemic? It's been really hard to make ends meet. So, what are some secrets you can share with us and our listeners?
The first thing that's really important is discipline, more than anything else. And you can think about dieting or exercising as one example. You can set yourself impossible, go join a club and spend $5,000 or $2,000, whatever. And then you find that, you start going out 3 times a week, then 1 time a week, and then it just stops because you don't have the discipline to sustain it. So the most important thing about spending also is having the discipline to have a plan and then follow it. The plan is useless if you don't follow it. So if you can first develop this sort of mental fortitude, that's how you can start your journey towards saving a bit more money. It starts with simple, basic things. Like if you're going to tempt yourself by going online shopping stores all the time, you will be tempted. And the credit card is the easiest way to make a purchase. They make it so simple. 2 clicks and you're done. But if you can resist that, not going to the mall as often or not visiting sites as often, not carrying your credit card. There's a very interesting thing that somebody mentioned to me once. For 1 month, don't carry your credit card. Carry cash and see how much it hurts when you pay $150 at the grocery store. You say, oh, wow, that's a lot of cash I'm dishing out. But with a debit card or a credit card, it's very simple. You just give it, they flash it, and you're done. So simple things that you can do by not exposing yourself to this temptation. And you'll see that just doing that simple thing, not doing anything complicated, you can begin to sort of see that your expenses will reduce. And then, of course, you can get more sophisticated with Moolahmate and things like that. So, for example, Moolahmate, what it will do is it will connect to all your bank accounts and your credit cards and download all your transactions and categorize them. This is for groceries, this is for entertainment, this was for dining, blah, 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 whatever categories you want to spend. So then you'll have a very clear picture of exactly what you're spending rather than just a vague idea of, I spend $200-300 a month on, dining out. Suddenly you look at Moolahmate and you say, oops, it was quite a bit more than that. I didn't realize. Oh yeah, I forgot about that dinner that I had. So the logic here is very simple, that once you know more precisely where your money is going, then you can begin to think about, okay, what can I do about this? Like, for example, in Moolahmate, you can distinct or mark certain categories as what I would call essential or fixed expenses, like your mortgage or your rent. There's not much you can do about it. It's going to go, car gas, you're going to spend money on gas. You're going to buy groceries and all that. So those are what I would call your fixed expenses. And there's not much you can do about it, at least in the short term. But then there are all the controllable expenses, whether it's vacations or dining or gifts and all that. Those will show up in a separate report. So now you can hyper focus on those expenses that you can do something about. Then comes the discipline part. Can you control some of those things? The last thing I would say is, and I remember you and I, Rabia, we were talking about priorities. Okay, let's say you love your Starbucks coffee. It's expensive, but you don't want to take all the joy out of your life. So you want to stay with your Starbucks coffee. Okay. But then something has to give because we only have so much cash, right? So it's a matter of determining priorities in terms of the desires. Which desire can I fulfill? We can't have everything. So it's not rocket science. It's just a little bit of common sense, There's a little bit of give and take for sure, but you got to take care of the basics first, right? You have to have a roof over your shoulder. You have to be able to feed your family.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think the discipline point is so important, and I want to tie that discipline point to our Desi culture because, when it comes to finances in the Desi culture, it holds a certain value. Us spending and us having a quality of life also determines sort of the status symbol. And for immigrants, also, Desi immigrants coming to North America, they don't have knowledge of finances, how to spend and where to spend, what is important or not. At the same time, they have to maintain the status and to take care of things back home as well. Why is it important to set goals?
I think, in fact, let me broaden that a little bit. The first thing is obviously every country has different norms and different things that you have to become familiar with. But the whole concept of credit history or credit score is an alien concept. No idea what that means. So in Moolahmate, for example, we have a knowledge base, and there we have bite-sized information on like written in simple English, not for financial whiz kids and things like that, that speaks to a layperson so that they can understand why it's important to pay your bills on time. Otherwise, your credit score will be affected. What makes up a credit score? And you can see those things. What can you do to help improve your credit score? And why do you need to do that? Because anytime you borrow money, it's going to be dependent on your credit score. So you must try and have at the highest possible credit score that you can have. You'll get better rates, or you get access to more credit and things like that. And those things are important. I mean, I find in the Desi culture that we'll never go to the real resource to get an answer, like talk to a lawyer or somebody or an accountant. We'll go and talk to Mahmood Bhai, because Mahmood Bhai knows. I mean, he may not, but we're too busy asking people that we know. So in Moolahmate, for example, you can increase your own knowledge this way. Plus, there's a very interesting feature that I don't think any other app has. It's forums where you can start a topic. Where can you find a good babysitter in Oakville or whatever it might be, and you can exchange those ideas with other Moolahmate members, and exchange ideas that way. And it's sort of anonymous. You've got your pseudonym there, so it's not that anybody knows who you are, and you can discuss those things. I don't know. I mean, you can tell me whether it's taboo to be discussing your personal finances amongst our community. And if one is reticent about it, then certainly this is a good avenue to sort of get more knowledge. And, as a new immigrant, you've got to watch, in particular, you've got to watch what you spend and things like that. So again, everybody has a reasonably good idea of where their money goes. But when you know more specifically, and it's without much effort, right? You connect the bank account, the transactions get downloaded every night. So you know exactly where your money is going. There's no speculation. You can hone in, you can drill down and see, oh, where did I spend that 400? Or what was that I spent a 400 on? It was this present that I gave Rabia. Oh, I see. Okay. It should all be helpful. It's all additive. There's simply no downside to knowing more. The more you know, the better off you are. I mean, that's why you do your show, right? I mean, people have rough ideas about life and how to behave with people and all the rest of it, but you're increasing that knowledge by opening up new thoughts, new ideas. And even if you get one idea from your show, you've helped somebody, right? So kudos to you guys for doing this. It's never easy. It takes a lot of effort.
Well, for sure, knowledge is power. But when acted upon, it can create those transformations.
100%.
And so what I've heard from you is if we have all the information, but we're not doing anything with it, that's the problem. It's not that we don't know. You're saying it's not rocket science. And what I'm understanding about Moolahmate and what I'm going to ask everyone to do is go to your phones right now, for everyone listening, and go to your app store in your phones and download it right now. Start that transformation right now.
Or you can just go to the Moolahmate.com website and you have access to all this knowledge base for free, by the way. Even the subscription price is like $5-6 a month. So it's neither here nor there. but access to the knowledge base and calculators are all free.
Sure. And so now that we've talked about how to save more, and one of the ways to save more is to spend less, right? That's basically what you were alluding to. Instead of going out 3 times a week, be more structured and know what you're doing. How can we identify unnecessary expenses and curb that impulse spending? Because when I'm in the shopping mall and I'm in a shoe store, because that's where my weakness is, and I see a pair of shoes that I really want, nothing can hold me back from buying it. So how can I stop that impulse spending?
First of all, forget the names Jimmy Choo, Manolo Blahniks. That would start there.
Yes.
But like I said, I think the one thing, like I said, in Moolahmate, there's a report that allows you to just focus on those so-called controllable expenses, or variable or optional expenses, whatever you want to call it. So that's the first thing. It hits you smack in the face rather than, 50 expense categories and looking at all those bills or all those charges. You're now looking at 10 or 12 items only. That I spend so much on entertainment, shoes and clothes, manicures, pedicures, whatever it might be. So this allows you to focus on those things, and you can see a trend for the last 6 months, average, all of that Moolahmate will show you. This is what you're doing. So, like I said, this little thing, don't go onto your favorite shoe website and browse, because it's tempting, right? It's tempting. It's like food. If it's in front of you, you will eat it, even though you're not supposed to. So it's the same sort of thing. Reduce those impulses. And then when you really want it, it's like a smoker. If you smoke all the time, it's all the same thing and all that. But if you say, oh, I'm only going to smoke after dinner, it's far more pleasurable. So buying those things occasionally, I'm like I said, there's no need to deprive yourself completely, but do it more sparingly. So you will still have that pleasure and you're not going overboard. Because at the end of the day, guys, what is wealth creation? You have cash inflows, which is for 99% of the people is simply the salary that you're earning. And then there's these expenses that you've got. So it's hard to change the inflows other than changing jobs or taking on another job. Those are fewer options over there. But on the cash outflows, there are many more choices. In fact, the way I look at it, if at all possible, is let's say you net take home you're the $3,000. The first thing that I would say is, just like the employer has deducted the taxes and has given you an after-tax amount into your bank account, right? Consider one more tax on yourself, and that is savings. Straight away, take 10%, 5%, 20%, whatever you can do. Make an automatic transfer from the account that your paycheck went into, and it goes into a savings account. So you don't even see it. It's set up automatically. You get paid on the first, on the second, it gets transferred out. Now I take out all my expenses that I can't do much about. My mortgage, my property taxes, my gas, my grocery, and now I have some amount left. And those are your wants and desires that you have to play around with. So very quickly, you have a really good idea of how to attack this problem rather than saying, oh my God, I'm spending too much, I have no money. You have some chance, better chance of handling your cash in a slightly more intelligent way. And you'll be surprised how quickly things can begin to grow over time. The last thing I would say is start early. The earlier you start, the more you'll have at the end. You cannot imagine the impact of compounding that happens. And in fact, you can go on to one of the Moolahmate calculators, which is free. You can access it. And you can say, I'm 25 and I save $500 a month for the next 40 years because I'll be 65. If you're investing in something that earns 6 or 7% per annum, it can grow to $1 million. That's a big number. That's a decent number. But it comes back to the discipline again. In fact, there's another calculator we have. It's called the debt scheduler. So if you have, your money to Visa, MasterCard, and Amex and all that, you can put all of that information in this calculator, put in the interest rates and all that, and then play around with the maximum that you can pay to each of those things. And it will show you how long it will take you to pay that thing off and what interest you would have paid if you do that. I'm trying to make it easy for everyone. So these are ways for you to come to grips with things and hopefully do better.
Yeah, especially now with like post-COVID, the interest rates have just skyrocketed, especially in the US.
Same thing in Canada.
Thank you for all of those tips and tools. Those are really amazing advice. And it sounds like everything that if we were to do it this way, we will not be sacrificing the quality of life. Rather, we are increasing the quality of life and life standard by savings and looking at that savings later on and saying, oh my God, how do I have this much savings? So it's without a sacrifice to the life standard.
That's right. And I think stress also is caused by not knowing. When you don't have a clear picture and you know you owe a bunch of money, or you may not have enough money to pay that thing, right? Because Moolahmate is a portal where you can effectively download everything, even like key dates, like, I got to pay my property taxes on September 1. My insurance is coming up on May the 15th. So there's a section where you can record your key dates and you can set up your financial to-dos in one place. And there's a guy, I forget his name, he's written a great book about organization. And he says, if you can unload from your mind all of these things down to paper or computer, if you will, right? Your mind will be uncluttered and you will be more at peace. Because you know all of I've taken it out from here and put it on my computer. And I tell you, it is a stress reliever in that way. I now can see everything. And when I can see everything, at least I have a better chance of charting a way forward. Yeah.
So when you have that awareness, let me just say, it's daunting to look at debt because when people are suffering from a mental health condition, when they open up their bank account and they see, that they're in overdraft or that they're not going to be able to make ends meet that month, that adds on to that burden. You're not able to function as a human being on a very basic level. Thinking about all this is just an add-on.
Yeah, it's debilitating. And then related to that, which I'm sure you know, is it can cause relationship issues, right? Because you are so stressed. There's just no question. Money can cause tremendous stress and it can really affect the marriage. And so getting a hold of this thing, having a sense of where we're at, and then discussing it with your spouse and showing them, you can maybe have better understanding that we're in this together. I think these are things that can help in a variety of ways to your well-being, your mental health, your stress levels.
I think one point is that once you accept where you are, so whether it be in financial abundance or financial debt, it's a $2 trillion problem in Canada, I believe. Consumer debt is huge, right? But once you take responsibility, and I think what Moolahmate helps by clarifying and organizing everything is, okay, now I'm in charge of my life. Now I'm in charge of my finances. And the impact of this is going to be, if I don't take responsibility at this point, the impact is going to be much bigger, right?
Absolutely.
And the problems that will trickle as a result, my mental health is not going to get better. My relationships are not going to get better. So being honest in that relationship is really important. I think we need to teach our children how to manage finances from the day they're born, not at the age of 18.
But there's an article or two in my knowledge base that talks about how you can teach your kids the concept of money. Access to credit is easy, but getting it out of control is also very easy. Sadly, nobody teaches us how to be in relationships or how to build a good relationships, how to build a good marriage. And we're never taught that. It's just because Uncle so-and-so told us and my mom told me. And the same thing with financial knowledge, right? I mean, you can find everything on the internet and all that.
Yeah.
But it's mind-numbing. right? And you don't know whether this is a good side or a bad side or whatever. But if you can sort of distill the ideas into one place, it might help them. It might help them. So I'm going to try and do that.
I think that's a great idea. And having some sort of a tool built into your tool that you have for teens or for little kids to use, because kids do get an allowance these days, so they do have money to manage. And it would be great for them to learn how to manage, put away some for savings, plan for their future, whatever, because as soon as we come into the world, out of our parents' shelter, going to college, we start to rack on debt. And that's the American lifestyle. You take on student debt and then you spend another 30 years to pay that off. And so, and then the point that you said about the information, it's so important to really make discernment. And, that's one of the reasons of our podcast, is to raise awareness on these important issues that nobody teaches us. Talk about it. And the information overload these days from every side, bombardment of information, of every perception, right? It is really perception based. And then for Desis, we see our parents telling us one thing, or brother Mahmood telling us one thing. So I was going to go back into the crisis part that Rabia was talking about. And, us, especially Desi women, not getting taught how to deal with finances. I'm a divorced woman myself, single parent. I was not taught any of how to deal with finances. And then going through a crisis, financial crisis, coming out of it, how do we build that resilience, that come back and it's okay? And of course, mental health plays a big part in that as well. But how can we build the resilience?
Sorry, just to take up on one of your point about divorcing. I just met a woman recently. She'd been married for, I don't know, 17, 20 years. Everything was in her husband's name.
Oh my God.
She had no credit history. And, he handled all the finances and they lived well. And she couldn't get a credit card to put gas in her car because there was no record out there for it. It's important to have a card, not just under your husband's name, to have a card in your name and don't abuse it. Borrow against it and pay it back. Borrow against it and pay it back. Your credit score is going to rise. Life is full of twists and turns, right? You just don't know what might happen tomorrow. You may have the best marriage and it dissolves for God knows how. There are enough reasons. I myself am familiar with the concept. It happens, it happens to the best of us. But being prepared for those things, which brings me, I'm digressing a little bit, but there's a concept of an emergency fund. And what that is that once you know what all your expenses are, you take a look, and there's a calculator for it in Moolahmate. You say, what are the expenses that I will have to pay regardless? If I lost my job tomorrow, what would I have to pay still? My rent or my mortgage and my car lease. Let's say it comes up to $3,000. You must have an emergency fund of at least 3 to 6 months. Multiply 3 by 3, $9,000. Somewhere in some savings account, because God knows, losing a job can happen to the best of us. So you must have that, because again, what will that do? Some peace of mind. God forbid, if I should lose my job, I have cash stored away that can sustain me and give me some time to find a job and all that. So a small thing, but to relieve that stress, hugely important.
You know what is really hard to comprehend these days is the cost of living. And the wages haven't gone up at the same rate as the cost of living. And I know someone who volunteers at a food bank.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know that there are cars driving up to the food banks that are BMWs and Mercedes?
Mm-hmm.
When you've got a very healthy lifestyle, right? Healthy meaning apparently a beautiful life. You've got the house, you've got the job, you've got the cars, you've got the kids. But your expenses are already there. And then the cost of living skyrockets.
It's not easy.
It's very hard. And you were talking about in relationships to communicate. when you're the sole earner, like there are lots of Desi families where they have a one income family, lots of them. And the wives, or most cases, the wives are stay-at-home moms taking care of those kids. What are some simple ways, if you could just give one tip of how to start that conversation when you are so scared, worried, and don't know what to do? Because it's very embarrassing for a lot of people, especially in our culture. But like something small, I know it's a big question. I'm totally aware that's a loaded question. What do you think is that first small baby, tiny, teeny step that someone can start that conversation?
It's a tough question, and it's a discussion unto itself. And I almost think that you have to attack it as scientifically and as clinically as that, because otherwise your head will be swimming constantly, and you're never going to get to a fresh answer. But if you put it down on paper and see what you need first at a bare minimum, and who are the options that you can speak with, that may give you an idea about how to tackle the problem or whatever, or somebody has a referral, and it could be another job, who knows, in that discussion. But you'll have to set your ego aside, I think, and be prepared. I mean, it's not easy. So accept it and then move forward. And in my own life, I, I find this acceptance is liberating. It really helped. It really helped.
Fauzi, you're bringing up so many important points with the wealth of lived experience that you've had. There's so many conversations within this financial freedom conversation, right? There's so many other freedoms that need to occur to achieve this financial freedom. And it would be great to have you back and we can explore each of those philosophies, because with financial freedom comes emotional freedom. With emotional freedom
Absolutely.
comes financial freedom. They're so connected.
Yeah, and then that goes into the quality of life and then the quality of relationships, like you're saying. So this is like so many more episodes we can have just on there from your wisdom, Fauzi. And then what I'm hearing is what you're saying is accept what is instead of what you want it to be, and ask for help. I believe you said that in there too. And that's also something which it's like getting over the ego. It's okay to ask for help. And we've said this in so many of our other episodes as well, Rabia, that it's okay to ask for help. You have your friends, you have your family members and so what if they say no? But if they say yes, it worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a saying in sport, if you want to hit the ball, you have to get up to take a swing, right? If you never get up there to take the swing of the bat, you're never going to hit a ball, right? If you're just thinking about it, sitting on the sidelines, you'll never get there. So give it a go. Give it a
Yeah.
go.
I'm so happy that we're talking about Moolahmate, because this is life, right?
This is life.
Well, I think this was a really great conversation, Fauzi. Thank you so much. You shared some great tips and advice on how to be financially aware, how to have your financial well-being through your really beautiful app and website and platform, I believe it is. I'm definitely going to check it out myself. The point that you raised about discipline, because it's one thing to know everything, have the information at your fingerprints, but it requires a lot of discipline to actually do those. You also talked about the impact of not being financially stable, what it can do to our relationships, to our mental health, to our overall well-being. And we also talked about how the knowledge is so important, knowledge of financial aspects of everything, and how knowledge is wisdom and it can help us. And it's going to be so important for us to teach this to our children and to our growing teenagers as well. So thank you for the beautiful conversation.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it. It was great. Nice summary, by the way.
Thank you.
What message would you like to leave our South Asian community with, our Pakistani community with, that would change their lives forever?
You know, you have to play the hand that you've been dealt. There's no point bemoaning how things were, how things we lived in Pakistan or India, and how it was supposed to be, and all the rest of it. You know what you have, where you're at now. Accepting that and then trying to make it better. If you can accept what you have right now and be honest with yourself and your spouse and your friends so that you're not carrying on this facade. Facade carrying is a burden, is a huge burden that you're adding on unnecessarily to the problem that you already have, the real ones. So accept what you have, see what you have, look at the cards that you have, then figure out which card you should play. That'll be.
I love that. That's so important for us, DCs. That's so profound. Fauzi, before as we end, where can our audience find you or reach out to you?
Moolahmate is MOOLAHMATE.com. And you can email me at fauzi@moolahmate.com. And I'd be happy to help in any way that I can.
Thank you again, Fauzi. It was really amazing to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Sana, it's that time of our episode.
Yep. We're two Desi girls
Reinventing cultural norms.
with love.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
See you next time.
Next time. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Please rate, subscribe, and review wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow the Rabia and Sana Show on social medias.
Remember, you can watch the video version on YouTube, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.
If you want life coaching services, or you are reinventing cultural norms for yourself and think you would be a great guest and want to be on our show, please email contact@therabiaandsanashow.com.
And be sure to check out our next episode. See you next time.
See you next time.